Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers, welcome back to the second lesson in the marriage module, the most eagerly anticipated module and one which I get the most questions about. We recapped in the first lesson the importance of marriage, how marriage completes half our deen, the impediments to marriage, and essentially some of the ways which we can ensure compatibility, particularly living in the West. In lesson 2, we're going to talk about some of the nitty-gritty in terms of actually looking for a spouse and what to look for, and some of the methods which are currently available to us. Now, Bismillah, if you went back 20 years, the traditional method was you either got introduced via the family in the West. Your mother, your father would know someone, maybe even a family relative, a niece or a cousin who they'd think would be compatible with you, similar age, similar perhaps education level, and you'd get engaged and then have your nikah and walima. Living in the West, a lot of us were uprooted from our families if we came from the North Africa, Middle East or South Asia. So these traditional routes may not necessarily apply. So in 1999, the first ever Muslim matrimonial service was launched online in the .com era, 1999. So that was singlemuslim.com. That was the first one launched by Adim Yunus. And since then, we've seen a plethora of apps. Single Muslim, beyond that you got Muz, Salams, even other ones as well, Simply Nikah, Nikahgram, Just Nikah, Sunnah Match, Pure Matrimony. SubhanAllah, there's dozens, literally dozens of Muslim matrimonial apps which came almost as a solution to the fact that the traditional family introduction setup was no longer appropriate in the West because the contact with family had reduced massively. So there was less contact with potential suitors. So alternatives had to be found. In the last 10 years, a lot of these websites have become apps now, and there's been a culture now of swiping and instant matching. This has made finding someone easier in that sense, but it also has a lot of problems in terms of compatibility, trolling, catfishing as well, ghosting, all these kind of things, which can be the pitfalls of apps. You also get this paradox of choice when you're bombarded with a lot of people who view your profile, they swipe right on you, they show interest, then you may have this paradox of choice, and that can really screw your thinking. So how do we avoid these pitfalls and traps? So another one, the third one, is to go to the local masjid. Masjids now in the UK particularly do have a system of nikah, of matrimony, whereby you actually join a database and they can match you based on your requirements. That's a third one. So always inquire at your local masjid. I know some of the bigger masjids like in Manchester and Birmingham and London as well, East London Mosque, etc. They have a very extensive database where you can get matched completely without pictures. If you show interest, then pictures can be shown. That's number 3. Number 4 is networking events. There's networking events like the Emerald Network, which is Muslim businesses. There's black tie events, there's SMBFs, etc. Muslim networking events which are geared more towards Muslim singles. So that's a 4th option. And a 5th option, which a lot of brothers I know personally, they've got married, is at work or university. They may meet a sister at the Islamic Society, which is called the ISOC in the UK, or MSA in America and the States and Canada, where if you're studying on the same course perhaps, or a different course, but you're there at university at the same time, then sometimes nikahs can happen. So these are just some of the routes and methods and means of finding spouses in the West at the moment. What's the best? Now this all goes down to personal preference. We've seen some horror stories, particularly in the last few weeks. One particular incident where a brother messaged a sister for asking for advice, and this got blown out of proportion there was a breach of amana. And this shows that even social media, although it can be a good tool to spread the message of Islam and give da'wah, when used in a way to approach, it can be blown out of proportion. So social media can be a tool to give da'wah, but I always advise my clients, never ever use social media to approach a sister. If you are going to approach a sister on social media, then do it respectfully, courteously, and even better, get an intermediary. Get someone to message the sister on your behalf. Say, Assalamu alaikum sister, my name is such and such. There's a brother who is interested in getting to know you for marriage or took interest at your profile. Will you consider a discussion for marriage? If so, here are his details, etc. Or what's your wali's details? Or we can add you to a WhatsApp group with 3 people. There's various ways to make it robust and respectful. And that's the main thing here. Always approach sisters respectfully. You never want to ever give off vibes of being licentious or creepy. You know, it's an amana. Marriage is an amana. That's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's sister. Always be respectful. And I would say to almost everyone, never ever approach directly. The best way is to approach through a person and through someone, a mutual friend perhaps. But the best way to approach is to her wali. Direct approach. If you have an interest, if you've seen a sister at an event perhaps, keep it simple and approach directly. And in terms of vetting and choosing someone on these apps, there's various criteria. You can filter by age, like by location, but the main thing we should look for is deen, because we know when it comes to all the criteria women are married for, wealth, beauty, status/lineage, and deen, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us, marry the women who have the best deen, otherwise you'll be losers. That's not to say these other things aren't important. And in fact, we must be attracted, there must be an attraction there. Because one of the Sahabi came to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, I wish to marry a certain person. And he said, have you seen her? He said, no. Then Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, glance at her at least. So he glanced at her. And there's a story of a Sahabi who climbed up a tree just to look at the potential spouse. It's very much allowed to look at a spouse in that sense for the niyyah of marriage. Going back to our masculinity module number 3, we talked about niyyah. Innamal amalu bin niyyat. Verily actions are through their intentions. So have an intention, a clean intention of looking at this sister for the niyyah of nikah or potential nikah. Nothing more, nothing less. And a good way to do this is say, sister, in a group of 3 people with her wali, send me a disappearing message of the picture. Probably the best way, actually. Disappearing message of your picture. That's important. Or do a video call perhaps with the wali's permission. These are ways to look at the sister in today's digital age. But of course, you can also see her physically as well. And some scholars say you can actually see her without the hijab. You can actually see the sister without the hijab for the purpose of marriage. Again, actions are by niyyah. Niyyah must be clean, must be pure, must be untainted, the approach must be respectful. So these are some of the ways. So going back to deen, that's the most important thing, but that does not neglect other things as well. There must be compatibility in your status perhaps, or your level of attraction, or there must be some compatibility in your akhlaq. There must be a compatibility as well in education level. That's not to say there must be equality. Equality is not the same as compatibility. So inshallah in the next lesson, lesson number 3, we'll talk about the actual procedure once you've found the sister you're looking for, or once the sister you're looking for has been introduced to you. Like I said, there's many ways. There's the masjid way. I know in East London there's a CV system where where parents send out CVs to other people, and now that's all been digitized as well. But there's various systems, regardless of the way you find a spouse or introduced to a spouse, the main thing is respect, vetting properly, keeping the hadith of the deen being the most important thing at the core of your mind, and being respectful from the process of approaching all the way to the eventual nikah. Lesson number 3 will tell you about the procedure for nikah, how to conduct it, how to proceed with the proposal and the appropriate way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us righteous spouses. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us spouses who are the coolness of our eyes. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.